So, welcome to our session this evening, in which we want to continue with our revision on the paper CHRP 05, Principles and Practice in Management. In today's session, I opted to look at the paper for June 2018, the paper that was done on Thursday, 28th June 2018. This will be our third paper that we will be reviewing. Hopefully, by the time we are done next week, we should be ready for the CHRP exam. And I apologize for not having uploaded the video for the earlier two sessions. I had some limitations, but I've been guided accordingly, and will be uploading as much maybe today and in the course of the day tomorrow. I should upload at least one or two of the revision sessions that we have had. So for the paper PPM, as we said in our earlier discussion, the paper has two sections, section A and section B, where for section A, the instruction reads, answer both questions in this section. That therefore tells you that section A is compulsory. Every candidate who sits for this paper is expected to attempt section A, the two questions in section A. Then we have section B. For section B, the instruction reads, answer any three questions from this section. So section B has questions 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you are asked to answer 3 questions. That means you at least have an option of selecting the question that you will not attempt. So without wasting any more time, we start with question 1 in section A. Because we are revising, we will go through all the questions from the first one to the last one. Question number 1 has A that has part 1 and part 2, and then question 1B. Who reads for us question 1A, Roman 1? Question 1A, Roman 1. Soma haraka tukiendelea ndio tumalize.
The management of Chumvi Fisheries Limited has adopted bureaucratic principles of management as advocated by Max Weber. Identify 5 challenges the company is likely to face in implementing these principles.
Reread, please.
The management of Chumvi Fisheries Limited has adopted bureaucratic principles of management as advocated by Max Weber. Identify 5 challenges the company is likely to face in implementing these principles.
So what is bureaucratic approach? That is what you need to understand first. That if you understand bureaucracy, then you are able to explain the challenges. But if you don't understand what bureaucracy is, you will struggle to tell us the challenges we encounter in bureaucracy. So Max Weber is a proponent of bureaucracy, 1864-1920, who comes up with a logical and rational way of describing bureaucracy and contextualizing it in a manner that it now is generally useful in business. Governmental agencies and indeed even business organizations, bureaucracies play a critical role in ensuring that things take place as intended. That bureaucracy is a system in place that ensures there are rules in place there is order in the organization, that there is a structured way, a structured system of doing things. There is clarity in terms of the tasks, who is expected to do what, and how things are done following strict, well laid down procedures, that you cannot deviate from the procedures as outlined under a bureaucratic system. Characteristics of bureaucracy, there are things that stand out. Task specialization, that there is division of labor and there is specialization, so that position holders or persons in the organization address unique areas that they are specialists in. There is hierarchy in terms of authority. Clarity, you cannot surpass your boss in maybe seeking approvals. There's a chain to flow from the lowest to the topmost person in the structure. Clarity in terms of rules and requirements that must be followed. There is a clarity in terms of, in a bureaucratic system, you come in, there is the career line that you want to join. You will grow and progress through that structure as stipulated. That, for example, you come to governmental agency, you join HR, the entry level is HR, maybe HR officer 2. After 3 years, you qualify to be promoted to HR officer 1. After 3 years, you qualify to be promoted to senior HR officer. After 3 years, you qualify to be promoted to chief HR officer. After 3 years, you qualify for promotion to principal HR officer. After 3 years, you qualify for promotion to maybe assistant manager HR, then to manager HR, then to maybe deputy director or director HR. That you cannot move from HR officer 1 to chief HR officer under a bureaucratic arrangement. Things flow in a systematic, orderly manner. Bureaucracy, as advocated by Max Weber. Benefits of bureaucracy would be decision making is done in a structured manner following the hierarchy in place. There is general ease of administration of processes in the organization. We know who is supposed to do what in the system. Clarity in terms of rules and regulations to be followed. There are no ambiguities. Everything is clearly stipulated, well laid out. Clarity in terms of accountability and the extent to which a job holder is answerable for what happens. Who holds ultimate responsibility, clearly stipulated. However, there are disadvantages of adoption of a bureaucratic system. Reread the question.
Okay. Management of Chumvi Fisheries Limited has adopted bureaucratic principles of management as advocated by Max Weber. Identify 5 challenges the company is likely to face in implementing these principles.
So that is an overview of bureaucracy that I've given. But now the examiner is asking us for 5 challenges that the management may expect to encounter in implementing bureaucracy. Anybody to make an attempt?
Maybe from the explanation, we can say the employees are not allowed to to be innovative because they have to follow all the rules and procedures.
Innovation and more to do with flexibility is limited. you must do things as said. Whatever will be called red tape. There are times you go to some agency, you want some decision made, some document signed, but you have to wait because some parts within the processes at play may not have been acted upon. Anything else?
Decision making might be slow because of a long process to come up with the right decision.
There is a long process so that the decision making cannot be made immediate under a bureaucratic system. You may find there may be 5 or 6 signatories. So if one of them is absent for whatever reason, the file waits until when they come back is when they can attend to the file and the matter progresses. So that slows decision making and action. Anybody else?
Maybe we can say that the employees have no ownership of the decisions which are made because they are not, it is not part of them.
No ownership. Respond a bit.
Yeah, like ownership of the process. Let's say it's something new that is coming up. It is just maybe brought to them. They are not given a chance maybe to ask any questions. So no ownership of anything.
Bureaucracy. Not very convincing because under a bureaucratic system, you know there is an orderly flow of information from top to bottom and bottom upwards. So if there is anything to be done, there is a flow and it has to go as stipulated in the procedure. The processes have to be followed. There are issues to do with bureaucratic delays. Decision making is delayed because of certain bureaucratic rules that may be in place. There are issues to do with paperwork. For many bureaucratic systems, there is a lot of paperwork and paper trail all through. And that may imply even something that was simple, could easily be done. You have to follow through, and one simple thing, the documentation is so huge. There are issues to do with nepotism. Here we are looking at under a bureaucratic system. You come in with knowing the right people. You find you rise and progress through the structure so fast, and you leave other people who are probably even more competent than you are and have stayed for longer, but because they don't have quote unquote godfathers, you rise faster than them. Limitations of bureaucracy. Then bureaucracy is also, you tend to find people are placed together and classified, or is it categorized in distinct restricted areas, and that you cannot move from one area to the other easily. If you join in HR, the entry level is HR level 2. You can only rise in that HR path, as opposed to some organizations that do not have such bureaucracies. You may have a situation where somebody comes in as a mechanical engineer, but progresses and somewhere along the way deviates into HR and is able to move on. So that is not possible under bureaucratic arrangement. The examiner said you need to identify 5 challenges. That is why you're given 5 marks. That does not call for you to expound deeply. Just identify 5 challenges you're likely to face when you're implementing this bureaucracy. Question 1B, no, 1 Roman 2. Roman 2.
Group formation progresses through identifiable stages Outline 5 stages in the group formation process.
What is a group? What is a group? Within the organization, you will have individuals coming together to pursue some common interests. They come together, they work together, they interact, they closely operate, and there's a lot of interdependency amongst them. They work together collectively as a group, a unit, so that the grouping may be formally defined or may be informal. Informal is just where some friends and will come together and they're able to operate and do their things as they want collectively as a group. But under a formal arrangement, the group is formed in a structured manner, and even the modalities for operations of the group are structured. Why do you come together as a group? There is some form of affiliation. You want to identify with other members of people that you have some common interest. When you are together, it gives you some sense of security and safety that collectively, even if you make a decision, collectively you can push for its enforcement because you are doing it as a group rather than when you are an individual. When you come together as a group, there is the aspect of you are recognized because you identify with that grouping, that social stratum. Therefore, you feel you have some identity and recognition going forward. Reasons why people join groups. And when you're in a group and you've clarified the goals, then you are likely to be more successful in pursuing and attainment of these goals. Reread the question again. Somebody to reread the question. Let us avoid the delay so that we move a bit fast.
Group formation progresses through identifiable stages. Outline 5 stages in the group formation process.
So what are these stages in group formation process? There is this writer by the name Tuckman who came up with the 5 stages, 5 main stages in the process of group formation, where he highlights the 5 stages as well. Number 1, the process of forming that group is the first step in coming up with a group, where the members will begin to identify what exactly they want to achieve and constitute that group with the objective of working towards that common objective. The second stage is called the storming stage by Tuckman. That when a group comes in, after the initial formation of the group, there is likely to be a period where there is a lot of infighting within the group. There will be people who are stressed, people who will have some resentment, anger, and they feel like maybe it was not necessarily the right idea for them to come together and join this group. so that when such frustrations come in, before the group settles, there is almost, if not managed, indeed, it might lead to the collapsing of the group from that storming stage. There is a norming stage. The norming stage is when now the group comes in, they've accepted each other with their limitations, and they now set their ground rules, their do's and don'ts, so as to have clarity in pursuit of the goals and objectives of the group. That all members will now know the acceptable group norms that will dictate how the group will operate. Once that is done, there is the performing stage, that the group has settled, the group has established its norms. Now the group members work towards pursuing the tasks, the objectives that they had set out, because by now the group members are well acquainted with each other. There's clarity in terms of what the group is pursuing and the purpose. They are comfortable working together, the performing stage. Then the final analysis is the adjourning stage, where it comes a time where a group is adjourned. That the adjourning stage is where now it is not possible for the group to continue forever, having attained its objectives, its mission. When you constitute a group or a wedding committee, upon the successful completion or finalization of that wedding, then the committee ceases to exist and dies a natural death. You dissolve it at adjourning stage. So the stages in group formation, we have 5. The formation stage, forming stage, there is a storming stage, there is a norming stage, there is performing stage, and adjourning stage. Question 1B. Question 1B.
Strategic process is organizations. Explain 5 benefits of strategic evaluation.
Strategic management process is crucial in modern organizations. Explain 5 benefits of strategy evaluation. What is strategy evaluation? Anybody to make an attempt? What is strategy evaluation? Victor?
I would say it is just simply analyzing if the strategic plan which was in place has done as per the expectation.
Analyzing
if the strategic plan which was in place has delivered as per the expectations.
So when you are formulating some strategies, you set out, these are the intentions you want to pursue, to roll out, to achieve, to attain successfully. So you are being asked, what would be the benefits that accrue to the organization when you carry out strategy evaluation? Anybody to make an attempt? When you brainstorm, you master those concepts, you never forget. But if you just wait for me to reproduce the answer, it is unlikely you will master it in the same manner as when you like brainstorm and participate in coming up with the answer. Benefits of strategy evaluation. Anybody to make an attempt?
To help the organization improve its permission.
Anybody to make an attempt?
Maybe I can try, Mwalimu.
Yes, Millicent.
Maybe we can say when you evaluate, you are able to see how well you are progressing and be able to correct where you are not doing well.
So when you set out your intentions, you are working towards, then you roll out. When you carry out the strategy evaluation, you just want to make sure that you are progressing, following the right path, and the intentions that you set out will be achieved. If not, you are able to notify and put in place corrective measures. Very good. Anything else?
Maybe after you have done your evaluation, you can be able to see if you're on the right track and maybe do some corrections.
Say that again.
I've said when you do evaluation, you are able to know where you are, and you can maybe if it's not the end of the project, maybe it's in between. You can be able to know where you went wrong and make some correction.
So you are able to evaluate and determine the extent to which you are succeeding or not. And if you are not, then you try to explain and remedy the situations, the factors that contribute to you are not achieving these objectives successfully. Any other? Benefits of strategy evaluation. We are looking at strategy evaluation and saying when you evaluate, you are basically able to carry out a benchmarking of your performances because you will have set organizational goals and performance targets and standards and targets that is expected. So during evaluation, we look at what you have attained vis-a-vis what you ought to or what you had agreed at the beginning. Then we are able to benchmark and determine where the position at which we are at in the moment. There is an aspect of steering a better course to pursue the goals. That from the evaluation, you can identify any weaknesses, any deficiencies, so as to initiate and roll out corrective actions. Strategy evaluation is also useful for purposes of goal setting. At the beginning, you set goals, then you work. Then as you work, you evaluate your performances against those objectives. So final analysis, you will have determined how the person has performed, and the results of that will be useful for purposes of formulating goals for the next performance period. So if you do not evaluate the implementation of the strategy, you may not succeed in terms of implementing that strategy. Sawa, question number 2, 2A. Who reads for us 2A? Margaret Gichuki.
Oh.
Margaret,
Mwalimu. Yes, Mwalimu.
you really struggle to get in. Kindly read for us question 2A.
Okay. It reads. Can you hear me, Mwalimu?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, it says Orchid Shopping Mall is in the process of filling vacant positions that are risen from retirement of employees. Explain 5 benefits that will accrue to the company by filling the positions through external sourcing.
The company wants to fill certain positions. That the shopping mall is in the process of filling vacant positions that have arisen from retirement of employees. So explain 5 benefits that will accrue to the company by filling the positions through external sourcing. You want to fill the positions by going outside. What are the benefits that will accrue to the organization? Anybody to make an attempt? External recruitment rather than internal recruitment.
And try, you'll have new blood,
Sorry?
new people coming in will not have have new blood where there is no attitude. They are very fresh and can bring new ideas.
So you're able to bring in new blood that will infuse, from infusing this new blood, new skills, new ideas that will be beneficial to your organization. Anything else?
I would say maybe when you recruit externally, you are able to source the skills which the company needs at that particular moment.
So you're able to source that which the company actually needs. Anything else? External.
I think it may help also in succession planning.
Succession plan, how?
Yeah, I mean, people have retired. You have young people who are coming to work. Then by that, you know the old guys who are retiring, as you have been taught, they'll teach the young people, and then they'll, when they are phasing out, you have new people. Then succession plan continues.
External recruitment,
I think so.
thanks for your contribution, but for external recruitment, you don't really need much in terms of succession planning, because you place an advertisement out there online in the newspapers, you will get applicants as and when you need them, depending on how many you want. So external recruitment, you are inviting applicants from outside the organization rather than relying on internal staff. You are able to access a large pool of qualified applicants, thereby identifying the best for the role in the organization. You are able to better compete with other firms in terms of attracting talent into your organization. You are able also to manage and reduce organizational politics, because when recruitment is done internally, who is recruited, who is given that job, we are looking at, oh, the person who has gotten the job is called Mongina, and the HR manager is called Rebecca, Ratemo. So we start saying there is maybe tribalism involved, or the persons who are recruited are people who belong to another pool of management, or you support one pool of management over the other. Internal politics and disputes in the organization. There is the aspect also of building the competitive spirit with the employees knowing they've been recruited, they are coming in on merit. The company competed other firms before it could get them, it could attract them. So they are even more confident in their ability, in their performance going forward as they join to work for the company. Question 2, Roman 1, Victor.
Diversity management is an emerging issue in organizations. Identify 5 indicators of an organization that has embraced diversity.
5 indicators of an organization that has embraced diversity. Question? Or are there any discussion points that you may want to raise?
I think it would reflect in the organization policies that gender diversity is embraced.
This question, there is a risk of somebody misdirecting and start talking of what is diversity and the diverse groupings we have in the workplace. When we talk about diversity, we talk about culture, race, ethnicity, diversity. Diversity, we talk about disability. Diversity, we talk about religious and spiritual beliefs. Diversity, we talk about gender. Diversity, we talk about intersex marriage. So these are grounds in which discrimination in employment is possible. So you want to be able to manage this so that your organization is seen as an organization that has embraced diversity. What indicators will be in play? For us to conclude and say this is an organization that has embraced diversity, what are the indicators we'll be looking at? The silence. One.
There is productivity experienced.
Sorry?
Productivity is experienced in the organization.
High productivity?
Yes.
Anybody else?
Molima will cry. I would say maybe not having specific roles for men or women, as in you can get a man or a woman in whatever department, not specific to women or men.
You don't want to narrow down and say this is only for men, this is only for women. So an organization where everyone works, depending on their qualifications and experience, we can begin to conclude that they've embraced diversity. There is an aspect of seeking support groups. You have groupings of these areas in which there is normally discrimination, and you want to seek the support group of these groupings for you to know you are better managing diversity. To what extent are people of diverse groupings able to access managerial positions and have a word with top management, so that they influence and are part of decision making. To what extent have we set and embraced support groups within the organization that we know, even though we have a diverse grouping, there are these support systems in place that will help us move forward. Indicators to having diversity. When promotions are being done, can we pinpoint and say, during the last promotion, this is the list and persons from all these diverse groupings were promoted? If your organization promotes and the promotion or the outcome of the promotion is just like a tribal list, a list of your tribesmen, then we know maybe, just maybe, diversity has not been embraced in your organization. Question 2B.
Globalization.
Charles Muindi, read for us question 2B.
Yeah. Globalization has played a major role in business development. Discuss 5 challenges of globalization to organization.
So what is globalization? You must appreciate that before you can begin to discuss the challenges. What is globalization?
I think it's, to me, I think it's looking at things internationally.
Internationally, expound a bit.
Not narrowing in just a small area, but looking at a bigger picture worldwide.
The world has become a global village, a small unit. Advancements in technology, transport, communication make it easy for flow of people, capital, labor, communication across the world. You have citizens from other countries living and working in Kenya and vice versa. Decisions taken in one country will affect activities and operations in other countries. Globalization. The world has become a global unit, a global village. So that arising from the globalization, the integration of countries, the issues such as access to new culture, you get to learn from new culture groupings of people you will be interacting with. Globalization forces you to become a low-cost producer if you want to access certain markets, thereby enhancing your efficiencies as a business. Globalization is critical in terms of enabling our business to access and attract new markets. What was our question again? Margaret?
Describe 5 challenges of globalization to an organization.
So what are the 5 challenges of globalization? You know what globalization is? What are the challenges of globalization? Challenges of globalization. There is immigration challenges, where the local labor look at the immigrants coming in as competition, unhealthy competition at that. So they resent. Globalization results in many foreign workers coming in. Arising from this, there is a risk of having foreign workers abused within our local environment. With globalization, you embrace new things. Then you lose your culture, you lose your identity. The last 2 weeks on social media, there have been these teen, I don't know who eloped to go somewhere in Rwaka or something. When they are found, the families have to wameenda wapi? Niliona wengine wanaanza kuuliza, I didn't say that you look for me.
Tuko.
Can we say
new cultures coming in? Things that you could not maybe embrace a decade or two ago is now part and parcel of our society. So globalization.
Can we say different labor laws?
As a challenge.
Yeah.
So that assume you've been working as a HR practitioner in Kenya 10 years, then you relocate to another country. You want to start working under a totally different regime. It becomes a challenge.
I think also to the first point of immigrants, there are also additional costs to employing foreigners, like permit acquisitions and all that, and other additional charges or costs.
Will come in. They will not go to stay in Umoja. Even though maybe they are compatriots within your organization, same class, stay in Umoja, then they will want to go and stay in some upmarket estate at the cost of the company. Challenges with globalization.
Can we also say that due to globalization, you can have challenges of frequent change of technology to be able to maybe to meet the market demands?
Technology has enhanced the globalization. Right now, with the American elections a few weeks back, Kenyans here in Nairobi understand anything and everything about the American election, who has won what state, how many electoral college votes, etc., etc. And the primary tool that has enhanced it is technology. That technology is what helps us coming up with these global units. So globalization is enhanced by technology.
Can we say also the cost increases?
Cost of what?
Of the technology. Maintaining that high, the cost to maintain the high technology goes up, is increased.
There are costs that may be incurred. Yes, that is all. That is right. You have to describe 5 challenges. So don't take 4 paragraphs describing 5 challenges that have how many marks? 5.
I think it, I don't know if you can say like it can also affect our industries. Like what happened when Safaricom and Airtel came? Poster collapsed, and so many people lost their job.
So when global entities come in, regrettably, they are coming in with more capital, more technology, better resourced. They are able to enjoy economies of scale and to the detriment of our local players. That is given. Section B. Answer any 3 questions from this section. Give me a 2 minutes break. I'm coming in. Give me a 2 minutes break. So I'm back. Section B. Section B. Who reads question 3A?
I
The
can read.
traits theory of leadership. Okay, the traits theory of leadership states that leaders are born and not made. Explain 5 traits of an effective leader.
Five traits of an effective leader. That leaders are born, not made. Is that true or false? You train to become a leader or you are born a leader? And when do we say you are an effective leader? So 5 traits of an effective leader. We are looking at an effective leader as one who has a vision. That as a leader, you need to have a vision, and indeed, this vision ought to be shared by the persons you are leading, so that you have a bigger picture of what is expected. Then you help these other people share into your vision, share into your dream. Then you succeed. A leader, there is a trait of being decisive. A leader should be decisive. You are not afraid to make decisions, make mistakes. You consider yourself confident enough to make decisions that will have an impact. At times, the outcomes may not be desirable, but you are decisive enough to bite the bullet and make the decision. There is the aspect of self-awareness. For self-awareness, we are saying as a leader, you need to know yourself. You need to know your strengths. You need to know your weaknesses so that you can be confident on what needs to be done to improve. Because if you do not know yourself, then you cannot discuss what needs to be done to improve. You cannot, as a leader, admit to making mistakes if you do not know yourself. So self-awareness, critical for a leader. A leader should have integrity. Here we are talking about being able to inspire others, being able to build trust, being able to do things in a manner that is honest, that is fair, that shows commitment from your end as a leader. Traits. Then there is the aspect also of collaboration. A leader should be able to build teamwork so that people can collaborate within the organization, that employees feel recognized, feel that their efforts are recognized, they are valued, their contributions valued by the organization, and they get all the support they require from their leader. Critical traits that stand out for us to talk about you as an effective leader. So 5 traits explained, 10 marks. 1B, Stella,
Yes, Maluma.
read for us.
As an organization grows in size and complexity, the number of management levels are likely to increase, leading to a tall organizational structure. Explain 5 limitations related to this type of structure. I repeat, as an organization grows in size and complexity, the number of management levels are likely to increase, leading to a tall organization structure. Explain 5 limitations related to this type of structure.
Tall organizational structure. That when an organization grows, the levels of management in the structure increase. So that we no longer have a lean structure, but a more elongated structure. A tall organizational structure. So we are being asked to explain 5 limitations related to such a structure. 5 limitations of having a tall organizational structure. Anybody?
Maybe I can try. Maybe when we have a tall organization, decision making may be a bit slow.
Decision making can become a bit slow. Tall organizational structure.
If you have many managers, it's more expensive.
Relatively more expensive because there are many managers to be remunerated and compensated as per the structure. Anything else?
Communication is slow and distorted.
The channel of communication, there are so many layers in the process, delayed communication and distortion of communication. Whatever message was being passed is distorted. Anything else? When you introduce many managers, the hierarchy is longer, and the disadvantages that come with the bureaucratic red tape comes in. When there are very many managers in the structure, there is likely to be duplication of roles. Some people may be doing things that is not even clear what they are doing vis-a-vis what the competition is doing, what ends where, what starts where, may not be clear. There is a challenge to do with conflicts are likely to be many in the organization because of the many managers feeling through the structure. The chain of command is too long from the CEO downwards. The chain of command, and there are too many spans of control that may affect efficacy of, say, the CEO or the other managers responsible for so many other managers that may be negative to the organization. 4A, Stella?
Different writers have developed theories on staff motivation. Discuss 5 criticisms against Hertzberg's two-factor theory.
Very.
Different writers have developed theories on staff motivation. Discuss 5 criticisms against Hertzberg's two-factor theory.
Herzberg two-factor theory. What is Herzberg two-factor theory? Herzberg looks at motivation and says motivation is a function of 2 factors. There are factors that Herzberg categorizes as hygiene factors and factors that are categorized as motivational factors. That pay, benefits, work procedures, rules and regulations are supposed to provide conducive environment. They are categorized by Herzberg as hygiene factors. But Herzberg says the true, actual motivators would be recognition, achievements. When an employee is assigned more challenging tasks to perform, when the job that the employee performs is enriched, these are likely to be more of an incentive to motivate an employee more than pay and benefits, according to Herzberg. So we are being asked, what are the criticisms of the Herzberg two-factor theory on motivation? Anybody who can give it a try, make an attempt? Anybody? Oh, sorry. Are you hearing about the two-factor theory for the first time today? Are you hearing about Herzberg two-factor theory for the first time today?
No.
What criticisms can you give?
I would say that it's not reliable as a theory because there are many uncertainties. You don't know what, maybe what motivates one person may not be the same as what motivates another. So one person may be in for the medical benefits, another person may not think it is important, for example. So reliability of that theory is uncertain.
Reliability because of different individual needs. Anybody else? Individual differences. People are different. So you cannot say that in the organization, everyone will be motivated by this or that. That you have a standalone model that says everyone is motivated by the hygiene factors or the motivational factors. So differences in terms of age, sex, social status, education, etc. would mean different people are motivated by even whatever is categorized as hygiene factors. For some people, those are the actual motivators. You look at factors in organization. There are certain factors affecting performance, affecting employee motivation, which are difficult to categorize as either hygiene or motivational factors. Here we are looking at maybe the level of influence an employee has in an organization. You are close to the CEO, you have some influence. Is that a hygiene factor or is it a motivational factor? How to place such which are not recognized by HASBAG is a challenge. The technique or rather the two-factor theory by HASBAG attempts to look at performances at the workplace, and research is done, but how the research is done employing the method we call critical incidents may not necessarily apply for all situations at all times. So that HASBAG employed critical incidents, which may not apply all situations, all times. Also, we look at organizations. Organizations have their processes that determine how things are done. Then these processes may negate certain factors when it comes to their application in terms of motivators or just creating a hygiene environment for motivation to thrive. Because of that, the two-factor theory is a good theory in terms of explaining motivation, but it has, like any other theory, it has its limitations. 4B, Stella.
Share your screen, Mwalimu.
Bobby.
Control is one of the key management functions. Explain 5 tools used by management in carrying out the controlling function.
Control.
Control, yeah.
Read.
Control is one of the key management functions. Explain 5 tools used by management in carrying out the controlling function.
Control. Control is about what? You want to make sure that things are done as was envisaged, as was intended. That work processes take place as intended. That there are no unnecessary deviations. Control. So what are some of the tools that are used in control? Any attempt? Any attempt?
Cannot it be one of them?
Sorry? Control. As a manager, you want to make sure people or your people do things and achieve results as
Caring,
planned.
caring.
You do things
Oh,
as
sorry, Mia Tan.
planned. So the question is, what are some of the tools that you want to use to control the functions, the processes, to ensure the flow, things take place as intended? Control, there are no unnecessary deviations. Tools of control.
Use of a Mwalimu, can we say standard operating procedures
Say that again, standard?
as one? Standard operating procedures, SOPs.
So that what do they achieve? What do they achieve?
They achieve staff are able to work in a certain manner
Standard
to achieve the
operating
objectives.
Then you make sure everybody in the organization is working following these standard procedures. Anything else you can use to control?
Can you say performance appraisals? That you make targets with your supervisor.
Performance appraisal to meet? Expound, please.
I mean, setting targets with your supervisor that within this quarter you'll have achieved this. This is your line, and you should do this within a certain time. And these are your duties, and you should achieve this within this certain at least 100% or a certain percent within this period.
So you've set performance targets, you are working towards meeting those targets, and you do not want to digress, because we'll be appraising your performances at the end of the period. Tools of control. Next.
Maybe I would say a budget, at least to plan what should be done and what figures should go to different operational needs.
So the budget can be used as a tool of control. Next. Tools of control. That when there are processes, there is a flow chart in an organization that you know how things are to be done. So once the flow chart is drawn, then outlining the main processes in any activity that is to be undertaken, then you can employ the flow chart and use it as a basis upon which you will be controlling processes. That if, for example, there is to be some flow process, then you just go to the flow chart and ask, did all processes take place as outlined in our flow chart or not? Tools of control. Rewards. and punishments can be used as tools for controls, where an employee knows they will be promoted or not based on how they maybe behave. The carrot and the stick analogy. Tools of control. We can look at tools of controls in terms of their standard costs that we incur in our operations over time. So if there are any deviations, then we can try to explain away or to account for the deviations and see why we are deviating, what could be the issue that is affecting our operational costs, that we do not operate within the minimal acceptable cost structure in the organization, the standard acceptable costs. 5A, Stella.
A committee is useful in transmitting and sharing information for effective decision-making in an organization. Explain 5 challenges of using committees in decision-making.
What is a committee? What is a committee? Committee. When Stella is wedding, she forms a wedding committee. What is a committee? When you have some problems here and there, you want a committee to help you in coming up with resources to finance the activity. What is a committee?
Is it a group of people formed for a particular, to perform a particular task?
A group of people who come in to execute a particular
task.
So the examiner is asking what?
Challenges.
Committees are useful, but what are some of the challenges of using committees in terms of what? Decision making. What challenges come into mind?
The first one is because of the different interests there may be in the group, decision making can take very long. Or consensus on whatever needs to be done.
So different interests, decision making, consensus may be difficult. Anything else?
There are those who dominate the committees and suppress ideas of others.
Say that again.
There are those few members who are dominant and they suppress the ideas of others. So the committee does not, is not effective at the end.
So some members may dominate and it is their views and opinions that pass. Then they come as views of the committee, when in reality, maybe it's just a few people who are giving the views and forcing the views upon everyone else. Anything else?
Maybe when you have a committee, sometimes it may take a long time to make a simple decision.
long time in terms of making decisions.
Other members don't contribute to the, maybe to the success of the task that they've been given.
Inability of some
Or to the
members to
solutions.
contribute may affect. You will get committees have defined TORs, and they normally operate around those TORs. Whether they will lead to the intended objectives being actualized or not, besides the point, we stick to our TORs. Committees may not have definite leaders, and thereby their meetings and deliberations and what comes out may not be definite. Committees, as we said earlier, we may have some differences, individual differences within that will affect decision making of the group and compromise the use of committees in terms of achieving intended objectives. Committees also, we may have situations where there may be lack of diversity in terms of other views and opinions, and they say committee of experts. They walk around like they know-it-all. It doesn't mean they are the best. Probably there are people out here who know even better than them. So using committees, yes, but it has its limitations. 5B.
5B Roman 1. A well-established organizational structure is necessary for effective coordination. Identify 5 key elements of a good organizational structure.
5 key elements of a good organizational structure. Anybody? There is the aspect of departments. A good organizational structure should have clarity in terms of how many departments and the interrelationships between the departments existing in the structure. A good structure should have clarity in terms of span of control, to what extent every position will have control over functions in the organization. A good structure should have clarity in terms of work specialization. Clear who does what, when, how. A good structure should be formalized so that all other company procedures, rules, regulations that will be adopted are formulated around that formalized structure. Good structure, chain of command, who is answerable? No ambiguities over who is answerable, who is responsible for what in the organization. Question 6. No, 5B, Roman 2.
Conflict among members who are in different generations within an organization can affect working relations, resulting in lower employee engagement. Outline 5 ways of resolving such conflicts.
Conflict between?
Conflict among members who are in different generations within an organization can affect working relations, resulting in lower employee engagement. Outline 5 ways of resolving such conflicts.
Conflict, but don't lose focus of what the examiner is seeking. Resolving what conflicts? Conflicts among members who are from different generations. In the organizations, we have, I don't know if you still have baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z. Different groupings, different aspirations, different hopes, different ways of doing things, all in the organizations. So we are asked, now that we have these people in the organization, it is likely there will be conflicts arising. So the question is, outline 5 ways of resolving conflicts that may arise between employees who are members of different generations, resulting in lower employee engagements. What are these conflicts? Some of these conflicts that may arise. Yes, anybody?
They can have conflicts maybe in the way they see things, like due to the age difference, the generational differences. Like let's say the way the young people express themselves, they may be acting to the older generation. So it brings up a conflict.
Perceptions and how they express themselves. Anything else? Generations. Anything else? There are values at stake. What the value system that the Generation Z, for example, have acceptable is necessarily not what the traditional old generation had in place. That, for example, you get the traditional old generation values of teamwork, cooperation, loyalty stood out. But the modern employee issues loyalty. That is Greek. They are selfish in terms of pursuing personal interests. There are issues to do with trying to find commonality. What is common that would be acceptable to all? It's not very easy. What the old generation value, job security, job stability, is nothing to the modern generation, creating conflict. There is a challenge in terms of learning from each other. So our diversity, we have our strengths and weaknesses. So how to be able to learn from each other and share the knowledge for the betterment of our organization trick. Challenge, even communication. I was having a chat with some HR manager friend of mine who was telling me that One of these youngsters just decided to resign. Went up country for some function, then sent a message, I've quit. Don't look for me. That is it. Another one who was telling me is another one resigned by just sending a message. That is resignation. I'm done with this. Two finger salute. I'm done. Peace. The guy has resigned. So you look at all schoolers, you'd want when you are resigning, you've researched and come up with a well-written resignation letter. But yule anasema tu I'm done, peace, and he's gone. So challenges across generations. Question 6.
One of the goals of a manager in an organization is to improve communication effectiveness. Discuss 5 techniques that managers can use to achieve this.
Effective communication. What techniques do you want to employ to achieve this? You must understand the audience you want to communicate to. What motivates them? What are their goals? Understand your audience so as to know how to structure the communication. For you to be effective communication, it has to be simplified. Whatever message you want to pass across, simple, concise, delivered in a quick, powerful manner. Effective communication, you must find the perfect timing. There may be some nice message, nice communication, information to be shared, but if the timing is wrong, you lose it. Effective communication, we are looking at somebody assigned me in, signed me out. I don't know why. Somebody was starting another class. Apologies for the mix-up. You have to be a good listener and an active listener at that when you are an effective communicator. So there's somebody communicating or the people you're communicating to, but you also listen and listen well. You must understand yourself to be an effective communicator. You do that, you get it right. Question 6B.
Human resources are arguably an organization's most important resource. Defend this statement.
Is that statement true? We start from there. Human resource are the organization's most important resource. Defend this statement. Is that true? That is the last one. I know you are tired, but that is the last one. Is it true that human resources are the most important resource in the organization?
Yes, because they improve other factors of production.
Sorry?
Improve other factors of production, the human resource.
They do what?
Improve. Labor improves other factors of production.
So the human resource will improve other factors of production. If you have a machine, you have money, and you have raw materials, without the human effort, you may not be able to produce. Anything else? Why is a human resource the most critical factor? Why is a human resource the most critical factor? Anybody? When you are looking at principles of HR, we say principles of HR. Principle number one, HR is an asset. So HR looks at human resource as an asset. An asset has value. Value can appreciate. HR, principle number two, is about culture. HR is tasked with formulating culture of the organization. Principle number three is about integration in the organization. HR ensures there is integration and things take place as intended. The people in finance, the people in marketing, the people in production, there is integration and they work together as one. Then there is a linkage of policies. HR is about policies. So policies are interlinked. The recruitment policy depends on the reward policy. The reward policy affects employee relations. Recruitment is affected by training. Training is affected performance management. So what you do in HR is interrelated, is interlinked. So why is HR the most important resource in the organization? You only have 1 point. You are supposed to conceptualize the important role of HR and then put it across. Why is HR critical? Attempt.
Mwalimu,
Yes.
I would bring in the real issue, the value that it's a resource that is valuable and it's unique. It cannot be imitated, especially the skills and competencies that the human resource have. It is reliable to the organization. And that is why it is the most important.
The aspect of value that the HR brings to the organization. Yes.
Excuse me, my understanding of the question is, I'm thinking human resources, they're referring to people. So like I will read it like people are the most important resource. So I defend it from people are the most important. That's my understanding.
Yes.
Not
why are people? You have land, you have labor, you have capital. You have machinery. But we are saying the most important resource are the people. Why?
Yes.
Now explain. Give me an explanation why.
It controls other factors.
It controls the other factors of production. It manages the other factors of production. It is the one that will plan, will organize, will direct, will control other factors of production. The value of the HR, another consideration you can talk of is the value of the HR can be constantly improved. What do you need to do as the organization to constantly improve the value of your HR? Train them, assign them responsibilities, reward them, enhance their competence, value go up. HR as the most important resource. It is this HR that will give the organization that culture, cultural identity that will make the organization stand out from the others. The machines, every other thing is standard. The money that is in equity is the same money that is in APSA, is the same money that is in Standard or KCB. So what makes KCB stand out? Human resource. Or what will make KCB different from equity? The culture, and that culture is driven by human resource. Human resource has goals and aspirations that as they work towards pursuing, then they are enabling the organization also pursue its goals. Human resource and its importance in the organization. So that is it for the paper. It was a long paper and a bit technical in some aspects. You have to be very careful in selecting the questions. Otherwise, you select a question and you may get stuck.
Mwalimu, something.
Yes, please.
On question 5B2, we just outlined the challenges, but we didn't talk about how to resolve the challenges. I don't know whether it's me who didn't get it or that skipped us.
Question?
5B2.
5B2 said what? Outline 5 ways of resolving such conflicts. So we did identify the conflicts without resolving.
I didn't hear us resolve them. I don't know whether it's only me or others.
Take us back to one of the areas. We said what? They learn from each other. They are different. So that we want a situation where we bring in these people from different ages, different generations, together, help them work together, and learn from each other. So as to ensure smooth workflow going forward, that you will get the work ethics of the older generation is totally different from the work ethics of, say, the millennial. There is the aspect of communication and giving feedback. constant communication of what is happening, what they need, their needs and aspirations are, and giving feedback just to make sure that we are at the same place. Any issues arising, there are some issues that will arise because of the generational gap. Some people take it as a big deal, others, another generation will dismiss it. It's not really a big deal. So communication can help us. If you understand the perceptions of the different groupings, you have people from Generation X, Generation Y, now millennials. So that you have a situation where if you know the perceptions that individuals have about something, then you desist from moves or attempts that will favor or gear towards one grouping to the detriment of the other. A more embracive approach is desired. Are we together? Are we together?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Malim.
Asante. Anything else? Okay. Then that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you for finding time and joining us. And I will upload this. I'll try to save it and upload it on YouTube. Then I share it in the platform for ease of access. Then you can revisit, re-engage, and for purposes of your revision. And thank you for finding time to join us. I hope it was a session that was useful. And until next time, we meet again next week on Tuesday evening, God willing. Have a good evening and God bless.
Thank you.
You too, Mwalimu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Good night.